and Michael's descent. In a time where the veil between the celestial and the earthly was thin, where the battles of light and darkness were not confined to myths but raged in the shadows of human existence, a prayer was uttered with fervent hope. Saint Michael the Archangel, defend us in battle, be our safeguard against the wickedness and snares of the devil. May God rebuke him, we humbly pray, and do thou, O Prince of the heavenly host, by the divine power of God, cast into hell Satan and all the evil spirits who roam throughout the world seeking the ruin of souls. This prayer, whispered in the quiet corners of churches, in the hearts of the faithful, and even from the lips of those who had lost their way, was not just a plea for protection, it was a call to action for the one whose name it invoked. Michael, an archangel of immense power and unwavering devotion to the light, heard these words. They echoed through the celestial realms, a summons that stirred the very essence of his being. His role had always been clear: to defend, to protect, to combat the forces of darkness. Yet this call felt different. It was imbued with a sense of urgency, of a deeper mission that transcended the eternal war between light and shadow. For centuries, Michael had watched over humanity from above, guiding, protecting, but always from a distance. The prayer, however, spoke of a battle not just in the heavens, but on earth, among men and women whose souls were under siege. It was a prayer that recognized the depth of the struggle, the personal nature of each soul's battle with darkness. Thus, Michael made a decision that would alter the course of his existence, and indeed, the fate of humanity. He, who had always been a celestial warrior, chose to descend into the mortal realm. His purpose was not merely to fight the external darkness, but to understand and combat the darkness within the human heart, to live among those he was sworn to protect, to experience their joys, their sorrows, and most importantly, their capacity for redemption. This story begins with his descent, a journey from celestial light into the complexities of human life, where faith, love, and sacrifice would be tested in ways Michael could not have foreseen. It is a tale of an archangel's odyssey through the human condition, a narrative of battles fought not just with swords of light, but with the power of compassion, understanding, and ultimately, redemption. As Michael stepped into the world of men, he carried with him the echoes of that prayer, a reminder of his mission, his vow to stand against the devil's snares, not just in the spiritual realms, but within the very fabric of human life. Here begins the Archangel's Descent, a saga of love, light, and the eternal quest for salvation. Michael, an archangel whose very essence was intertwined with the divine light. His wings shimmered with a celestial glow, his eyes held the wisdom of the ages, and his heart was a fortress of justice. Yet, within this bastion of celestial power, a profound yearning began to take root, a desire to experience the purity of light in its most vulnerable form, humanity. Michael's decision to descend into the mortal realm was a whisper in the vastness of eternity, a ripple that would change the course of both celestial and earthly destinies. With the blessings of the divine council, his spirit embarked on a journey unparalleled. The moment of his conception was marked by a gentle light, unseen by the world, as his divine essence melded with the human soul. His birth was under a sky where stars seemed to pause in their dance, acknowledging the arrival of one of their own into a new existence. As a child, Michael was like any other, yet there was an inexplicable depth in his eyes, a quiet knowing. He grew in a world of contrasts, where the sun's warmth met with the chill of human cruelty, where joy danced alongside sorrow. Each day was a lesson in duality. He felt the sting of hunger, the chill of loneliness, the warmth of friendship, and the ache of betrayal. Human suffering in its myriad forms became his teacher, revealing to him the profound capacity for both darkness and light within the human spirit. His journey was not without doubt. The complexities of human existence, the gray areas where morality blurred, tested his celestial convictions. Love, in its purest forms, showed him the beauty of creation, while war, disease, and despair revealed the depths of its brokenness. Through these trials, Michael learned that faith was not a shield against suffering, but a journey through it, a light that flickered in the stormiest of nights. It was in a small village under the boughs of an ancient olive tree that Michael's human experience intersected with the divine in a way he had never anticipated. A wandering preacher, whose words carried the weight of truth and the gentleness of love, spoke of a kingdom not of this world, of a God who loved unconditionally. This was Jesus of Nazareth, and his teaching struck Michael like a bolt of divine lightning. Here was not just philosophy or law, but life itself, embodied, sacrificed, and resurrected. In the simplicity of the teachings and the profound love that emanated from Christ, Michael found his calling. The light he had always served now had a face, a voice, a sacrifice. His heart, already tender from the human experience, was now aflame with a purpose that transcended his celestial duties. Beneath the same olive tree, as the sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows, Michael made his solemn vow. He knelt, his human form feeling the earth's cool embrace, and spoke words that resonated in both realms. I, Michael, once of the celestial, now of the earthly, pledge to combat the darkness here among men. I will ease your burden, my lord, by standing against the forces that seek to snuff out your light. This vow was not merely a commitment to battle, it was a declaration of love for humanity, a promise to illuminate the path back to God for all who are lost. His mission was now clear: to serve not from above, but from within the human experience, to fight alongside those he had come to love, to be a beacon of hope in a world where darkness often seemed to overshadow the light. Thus, Michael's journey as a human began, not as a mere observer, but as an active warrior in the eternal struggle between light and darkness, his celestial heritage blending with his newfound human heart, ready to face whatever trials lay ahead. In the depths of his human experience, Michael's consciousness expanded, sensing the subtle yet profound shifts in the cosmic balance. His journey had led him to the edge of humanity's understanding, where myth and reality intertwined. Ancient texts, whispered lore, and the spiritual insights passed down through generations spoke of a realm that existed beyond the visible, a place known as the Abyss, ruled by Abaddon. Michael delved into archives hidden from the common eye, spoke with hermits whose lives were dedicated to the esoteric, and listened to the tales of those who had once ventured too close to darkness. They described the abyss as a domain where the essence of beings who had not fully aligned with either the divine light or the infernal darkness resided. This was a gray zone, a purgatorial existence where souls lingered in a limbo of their own making, neither condemned nor redeemed. Abaddon, the king of this realm, was a figure of contradictions, a destroyer by title, yet his rule was nuanced, governing over those who were not wholly lost but also not found. His power was vast, his intentions inscrutable, and his realm was a reflection of the complex nature of creation itself. To reach the abyss, Michael found an entrance that existed in the liminal spaces between the worlds, a cave hidden by time and magic. As he descended, the light grew dim, replaced by a pervasive gloom that seemed to absorb sound, light, and hope. The air was thick with the weight of forgotten sins. The walls were etched with the despair of those who had passed through, and the path led ever downward into the heart of darkness. With each step, Michael felt the oppressive weight of the abyss, a test not just of his physical form, but of his spirit. His celestial light, now dimmed by human form, flickered like a candle in a storm, yet it did not extinguish. Here, in this void where light was scarce, he called out, his voice a beacon against the silence. Abaddon, I seek an audience with thee. From the shadows, Abaddon emerged, his form a shifting silhouette that seemed to absorb and reflect the scant light around him. His presence was commanding, his aura one of ancient power and deep knowledge. His eyes, void-like yet piercing, assessed Michael with a mix of curiosity and skepticism. Emissary of light, why tread in my domain? His voice was like the sound of 1,000 whispers, each carrying the weight of the abyss. Michael, standing resolute, his human heart beating in sync with his celestial resolve, spoke, I come not to claim territory or to cast judgment. I seek an alliance, for there is a darkness that grows, threatening all realms. Satan's influence must be curtailed, and I believe together we can achieve this. Abaddon's laughter was a cold wind that swept through the cave. An alliance? What can light offer to one who thrives in shadow? Michael's response was not of conquest, but of purpose. I offer not dominion, but a chance for those who dwell here to find a path, a purpose beyond mere existence. Unity in our goal to bind Satan could shift the balance, offering redemption, or at least a choice for redemption. The silence that followed was thick with the tension of millennia-old enmities. Abaddon's gaze lingered on Michael, perhaps seeing the sincerity in the archangel's human eyes, perhaps weighing the potential benefits of such an alliance. A pact, then, Abaddon finally spoke, his voice now a calm, deliberate rumble. We shall unite against this common foe, but hear this, Michael of Light. Our alliance dissolves once our task is complete. No debts shall remain between us. They sealed their pact with a handshake that felt like the meeting of fire and ice, a bond forged in the depths where light seldom dared to venture. This partnership was not one of trust, but of mutual necessity, an intricate dance where each step could herald salvation or plunge them deeper into the abyss. Together, they would confront Satan, but the path they tread was fraught with peril, for in the realm of shadows, intentions were as shifting as the darkness itself. The air in the abyss was thick with anticipation as Michael and Abaddon approached the heart of darkness, where Satan, the adversary, awaited. The shadows seemed to whisper of an impending clash, where the fate of realms hung in balance. With Abaddon by his side, Michael felt a surge of resolve. Their steps echoed through the cavernous expanse, each one a declaration of their intent. Satan, a figure of both terror and mockery, lounged on a throne of twisted shadows, his presence a void that sucked in light, leaving only a cold, mocking grin. Welcome, Archangel and King of the Lost, Satan greeted with a voice that slithered like serpents. To what do I owe the honor of this peculiar alliance? We come to end your reign of chaos. Michael's voice was steel, his eyes burning with celestial fire. Satan's laughter was a cacophony of despair. And how do you propose to do that with one who has tasted power yet remained neutral? Abaddon's expression was unreadable, his voice low. We bind you, Satan. Your time of free reign ends now. The ritual began. Michael, with his knowledge of celestial bindings, and Abaddon, with his dominion over the abyss, started to weave spells and incantations that would lock Satan away. The air crackled with power, the ground beneath them trembled, and for a moment it seemed as though light might triumph over darkness. But as the final words of the binding were uttered, Abaddon's stance shifted. With a swift motion, he altered the spell, turning its force against Michael. The chains meant for Satan wrapped around Michael instead, binding him not just physically, but spiritually to the adversary. You thought I would side completely with light? Abaddon's voice was a mix of regret and cold calculation. I serve my own interests, Michael, and in this, I see a greater game. Satan's laughter filled the cavern, his chains now a mockery as they bound him to Michael, not away. Oh, how the mighty fall, or rather bind themselves to their enemies. For 5 months, Michael was subjected to an ordeal that tested the very core of his being. Satan's attacks were relentless, a storm of psychological warfare and physical torment. Each day was an eternity of whispers meant to erode his faith, illusions designed to make him doubt his mission, and physical pain that reminded him of his human vulnerability. Yet, in this crucible of suffering, Michael's faith did not falter. He clung to the teachings of Christ, to the love that had guided him to this point. His spirit, though bound, glowed with a resilience that even the darkness of the abyss could not extinguish. The light within him, the essence of his divine origin, served as both shield and beacon. He endured, not through denial of his pain, but through acceptance of it, using it as a testament to his resolve. In his moments of greatest despair, he found solace in prayer, in the memories of human kindness, and in the unwavering belief that this trial was but a chapter in the greater story of redemption. Michael's torment was not just a battle for his survival, but for his very soul. Each attack from Satan was met with a reaffirmation of his purpose, his love for God, and his commitment to the light he had vowed to uphold. Through this, he became a living embodiment of the saying, "The darkest hour is just before the dawn." His spirit, though shackled, shone brighter, a testament to the enduring power of faith against the onslaught of darkness. The abyss, though a place of shadow, now felt even colder, the darkness more oppressive as Michael, having survived the 5 months of torment bound to Satan, faced a new adversary. Death, the son of Satan, had taken notice of the archangel's resilience and sought to extinguish the light that Michael carried within him. In a secluded alley of the mortal world, where despair often went unnoticed, Michael felt the cold grip of dread before he saw the figure approaching. The vessel chosen by death was unremarkable at first glance. A man whose life had been marked by sorrow and loss, now a pawn in a game far beyond his understanding. Michael, the undying light. Death spoke through the human, his voice an eerie echo of his father's, yet with a chilling finality. Your time ends here. Michael, though weary from his ordeal, stood his ground. Death, even you serve a purpose in God's creation. Why align yourself with destruction? Destruction is my purpose, Death replied, his eyes void of life, reflecting nothing but the end. With a swift motion, he reached out, his hands now imbued with supernatural strength, wrapped around Michael's throat. The grip was unlike any Michael had felt in his mortal form. It was not just physical, it was a clamp on life itself, an assertion of death's dominion over all flesh. Michael struggled, his human body weakening, his vision blurring. As his consciousness faded, he felt the cold certainty of death enveloping him. The alley grew silent, the only sound the distant echo of the city, indifferent to the cosmic struggle playing out in its shadows. Michael's body slumped to the ground, lifeless, the light in his eyes extinguished. But death was not the end for Michael. His spirit, unbound by the mortal coil, lingered for a moment, witnessing the scene from above. The body he had inhabited lay still, yet within it there was a flicker, a divine spark that refused to be snuffed out. With a resolve that echoed through the realms, Michael's spirit re entered his body. The light returned to his eyes. His chest heaved with a breath that was both human and divine. Life surged back, not through defiance of death, but through an acceptance of his resurrection as part of his mission. Rising, Michael faced the vessel death had used. The human, now freed from possession, lay unconscious, his life spared by Michael's return. Instead of seeking retribution or casting judgment on the man who had been a tool of darkness, Michael knelt beside him, his hand gently resting on the man's forehead. "You are not to blame for the darkness that sought to use you," Michael whispered, his voice imbued with compassion. "You are a child of God, lost but not forsaken." As the man stirred, waking to find himself not dead but saved, Michael's actions spoke louder than any words. He demonstrated the mercy and love of Christ, showing that even in the face of mortal enemies, compassion could prevail. Thus, Michael, having faced death and returned, continued his mission with a renewed purpose. His encounter with death, rather than diminishing his light, had instead intensified it, proving that even the grip of death could not hold against the power of faith and the love that transcends all ends. Hashtag Chapter 5, The Keys of Death. Following his resurrection, Michael found himself standing at the threshold of a realm where the material and spiritual intermingled, a place where the laws of life and death were written and rewritten. Here, in this ethereal plane, he would confront death, not as a human, but as an archangel in full celestial glory. The landscape was unlike any in the mortal world. It shifted and changed, mirroring the chaos and order of life and death. Shadows and light danced in an eternal ballet. The ground beneath his feet, a mix of solid earth and shifting sand. Here, Michael's wings unfurled, glowing with an inner light that seemed to push back the darkness. Death appeared, no longer bound to a human vessel, but in his true form, a spectral figure cloaked in the essence of ending, his eyes like abysses that swallowed all light. "You dare challenge me here, where my power is absolute?" Death's voice was a whisper that carried the weight of countless lost lives. "I do not challenge your power," Michael responded, his voice a beacon of resolve, "but your tyranny over the cycle of life." The battle that ensued was not of flesh, but of spirit. Michael, with the might of an archangel, clashed with death in a spectacle of divine force. Each strike from Michael was imbued with the light of creation. Each parry by death carried the finality of oblivion. Their conflict was a maelstrom of light and dark, where time itself seemed to falter, trying to catch up with their movements. The struggle was fierce, a test of wills where Michael's faith was the shield, and his love for humanity was the sword. With a final, desperate push, Michael managed to overpower death, not through superior might, but through the sheer force of his belief in redemption and life. In the moment of his victory, Michael reached into the depths of death's essence, extracting the keys symbolic of death's dominion over mortality and the abyss. These keys, forged from the essence of the void itself, shimmered with an otherworldly light, signifying the control over the passage between life and death. Holding them aloft, Michael declared, "With these, the cycle of life shall not be tyrannized by fear, but guided by grace." Transported by an unseen force, Michael found himself before Christ, in a realm where divine light was all encompassing. With reverence, he offered the keys, kneeling before the Son of God. "Lord, I bring you dominion over death, that it may serve your will, not its own," Michael said, his voice filled with awe and humility. Jesus, with a countenance that radiated infinite love and peace, accepted the keys. With a simple gesture, he transformed them, infusing them with his essence. Death, he spoke, and the very name carried the power of resurrection. You shall serve life. As death, now diminished, fled from the presence of Christ, the keys in Jesus' hand glowed, symbolizing the ultimate victory over death itself. Michael watched as death retreated, not vanquished, but forever changed, its role in the divine plan redefined by the love and sacrifice of Christ. This act marked a pivotal moment in Michael's journey, where he not only fought against darkness, but played a part in reshaping the eternal narrative of life and death, aligning it more closely with the divine intention of redemption and eternal life. In the aftermath of his spiritual battle with death, Michael found himself in a state of profound contemplation. The keys he had relinquished to Christ symbolized not just dominion over death, but a deeper truth about the nature of the divine kingdom. As he meditated, a quiet revelation dawned upon him. He had walked among humans, suffered with them, fought for them, and in doing so, had come to understand their essence more deeply. The kingdom of heaven, Michael realized, was not merely a place one could go after life, nor was it solely a celestial realm above. It was also within each believer, an internal sanctuary of divine presence. This realization was like a seed planted in fertile soil, sprouting into a new understanding of his mission. The true strength of heaven's armies wasn't just in their celestial might, but in the collective spirit of those who carried the light within. This insight was both humbling and empowering, for it meant that every soul with faith was part of this kingdom, contributing to its power and its victory over darkness. With this revelation, Michael felt a surge of divine energy course through him, not from external sources, but from within. It was as if the light he had always embodied now harmonized with the divine spark within all believers, amplifying his resolve and his capabilities. His wings, already a symbol of his celestial nature, now seemed to shimmer with an even purer light, reflecting this internal awakening. This newfound power was not for destruction, but for redemption, for the upliftment of the spirit, and for the strengthening of the faithful. It was the power of unity, of collective faith, of the kingdom of heaven manifesting through every act of love, every word of truth, every moment of courage. Feeling this profound connection to the divine within all, Michael knew it was time. This loomed on the horizon. The ultimate confrontation loomed on the horizon, and he needed to rally not just the hosts of heaven, but all who carried the kingdom within. He ascended to the celestial realms, where the armies of heaven awaited. His presence was like a beacon, his voice resonant with the clarity of his new understanding. Brothers, sisters, children of the divine light, Michael proclaimed, his voice echoing through the heavens. The kingdom we fight for is not only above us, but within every soul that believes. Today we stand not just as warriors of the sky, but as bearers of the eternal light. His words ignited a fervor among the celestial beings. Angels, seraphim, and cherubim each felt the stirring of this truth within them. The realization that the divine kingdom was also within their essence added depth to their purpose, turning their celestial might into a force of spiritual awakening. With heaven's armies now understanding and embracing this revelation, they prepared for what was to come. The preparation was not just of weapons and strategies, but of spirit and unity. They sang hymns that resonated with the truth of the inner kingdom, their faith forged into a tangible force. Michael, leading with newfound resolve, knew that the battle ahead would not be won by celestial might alone, but by the collective power of the divine within. This was a fight for the soul of creation, where the victory would be measured not in conquests, but in the liberation of spirits, in the redemption of the fallen, and in the eternal reaffirmation of the kingdom of heaven within every heart that sought its light. The heavens themselves seemed to hold their breath, as Michael, with an aura of divine authority, led the celestial armies in a battle that would echo through the ages. The sky above earth was a canvas of light and shadow, where the purity of the divine clashed with the chaos of the fallen. With a strategy that mirrored the unity of the inner kingdom, Michael's legions moved with a synergy that was both martial and spiritual. Each angel's movement was a note in a celestial symphony, harmonizing force with faith. The battlefield was not just a physical space, but a metaphysical one, where every action was charged with the intent to reclaim the cosmos for light. The fallen angels, once beings of grace, now twisted by their own rebellion, fought with a ferocity born of desperation. Their leader, a once bright star now dimmed by darkness, rallied them with promises of power and freedom from divine order. However, against the unified front of the heavenly host, their efforts were in vain. In this grand conflict, Michael's voice rose above the din of battle. In the name of the highest, be cast down. His words were not just a command, they were a decree from the divine itself. The fallen angels, overwhelmed by the combined righteousness and might of the heavenly forces, began to lose their celestial foothold. Their descent was like shooting stars dragged from the heavens by force of divine will, each leaving a trail of extinguished light. As they plummeted to earth, the impact of their fall was felt in the spiritual realm, causing a ripple effect that would alter the course of human history. Upon reaching earth, these fallen angels sought refuge within the hearts of men and women who, through choice or circumstance, had strayed from the path of light. They indwelled the souls of the fallen third of humanity, those whose lives were marked by despair, anger, or a rejection of divine grace. This union corrupted them further, amplifying their darker inclinations, turning them into unwitting vessels of chaos. Michael, witnessing the aftermath of the celestial war now manifesting on earth, understood the battle had merely shifted arenas. The fallen angels, now within humanity, had begun to orchestrate a new form of warfare, one that intertwined the spiritual with the earthly. The corruption was subtle yet profound, influencing actions, thoughts, and the very fabric of society. With this understanding, Michael prepared for a confrontation unlike any other. He knew the next battle would require not just celestial might, but a deep engagement with the human spirit. The armies of heaven, now regrouped, were not just warriors of the sky, but became guardians of the human heart, ready to combat the darkness that sought to consume from within. Michael's resolve hardened, knowing that to face this combined force of spiritual corruption and earthly challenge, he would need to harness the power of faith, love, and redemption. The war for the souls of men had begun, and Michael stood at the forefront, ready to lead the charge against an enemy that was both within and without, preparing for the ultimate test of light against the encroaching darkness. In the shadow of the celestial upheaval, a new figure rose, one who wielded not the sword of light or the darkness of the abyss, but the power of human ingenuity corrupted by malicious intent. This was the false prophet, a master of deception who had long dwelt in the shadows, waiting for his moment. The false prophet, with his command over modern technology and arcane knowledge, devised a scheme to tilt the balance further in favor of darkness. He constructed devices, hidden in plain sight, designed to resonate with the frequencies of the spiritual realm. These machines, disguised as advancements in communication and surveillance, were in truth amplifiers that could summon and bind the spirits of the fallen angels to the physical world. With a whispered chant that echoed through cyberspace and reality alike, he activated his creation. The devices hummed to life, their signals piercing the veil between dimensions, calling forth the spirits of the fallen. These spirits, now free from their earthly hosts, sought new vessels in the unsaved third of humanity, those who had not yet found their way to the light. The transformation was both terrifying and awe-inspiring. Humans, once bound by their mortal limitations, now surged with demonic power. Their bodies were enhanced by the essence of fallen angels, granting them strength to bend steel, speed to outrun time, and intellect that could unravel secrets of the universe. They became beings of immense potential, yet devoid of divine grace, their abilities twisted towards malevolence. These newly transformed entities were near invincible, their human form now a mere shell for the dark energies that coursed through them. They were the antithesis of what humanity was meant to be, a perversion of creation, empowered to wreak havoc. With their new powers, these dark beings launched an unprecedented assault on the remnants of Christianity. Churches, once places of sanctuary, became battlegrounds. The faithful, though few, stood as beacons of light in a world increasingly shadowed by darkness. They were not just defending their faith, but the very essence of human dignity against those who had forsaken it. The attack was multifaceted, employing not just physical might, but psychological warfare. The false prophet used his technological matrix to broadcast lies, sowing seeds of doubt, fear, and division. The internet was flooded with propaganda, and media outlets under his influence painted believers as relics of a bygone era, out of touch with the new, empowered human paradigm. Forces of darkness, now bolstered by their enhanced human allies, moved against the Christian communities with an efficiency that belied their chaotic nature. They aimed to extinguish the light of faith, to dismantle the structures that supported it, and to crush the spirit of those who held on to hope. The survival of Christianity hung in the balance as these transformed beings, with their demonic enhancements, proved formidable adversaries. Each victory for the darkness seemed to dim the world a little more, casting long shadows over the future. The remnants of the faithful, though resilient, faced a tide that seemed unstoppable, their numbers dwindling under the relentless siege. Yet, even in this dire moment, there was a quiet strength among the believers. They knew that their battle was not just against flesh and blood, but against the principalities and powers of darkness. They prepared for a fight not just for survival, but for the very soul of humanity, holding fast to the belief that light could still prevail against the gathering storm. As the relentless wave of darkness seemed poised to engulf the last beacons of light, the world stood at a precipice. The remnants of Christianity, those who had held the line against the tide of darkness, found themselves surrounded, their faith tested as never before. The transformed beings, once human, now vessels of demonic power, had orchestrated a world where hope was a luxury few could afford. In this moment of direst need, Michael, who had journeyed from celestial heights to the depths of human despair, felt a profound shift within. His essence, long tempered by earthly trials and celestial duties, began to resonate with a purity that had not been seen since the dawn of creation. His form, though human, started to emit a light that grew from within, illuminating the darkness around him, a light that spoke of his true nature as an archangel. This awakening was not just physical, it was a spiritual awakening, where Michael's divine nature, his connection to the source of all light, was fully realized. The light was not aggressive but all encompassing, a beacon meant to guide, to heal, to restore. It was as if the very essence of Michael's being had been waiting for this moment, where the convergence of his human experience and celestial origin would culminate in an act of divine intervention. With this realization, Michael stood, his presence now commanding the attention of both heaven and earth. In his hand, he held a shofar, an ancient instrument used in times of war and peace, in celebration and mourning. This shofar was no ordinary one. It was imbued with the breath of God, a symbol of divine proclamation. Lifting the shofar to his lips, Michael blew. The sound that emerged was not just heard, it was felt. It reverberated through the air, through the hearts of all living beings, through the very fabric of creation. It was a call that transcended time and space, a clarion call of divine authority, of redemption. This sound was the sound of the universe breathing in unison, a cosmic sigh of relief and anticipation. The shofar's call was not just a battle cry, but a declaration of the end of an era of darkness, a promise of liberation from the chains that had bound humanity since the fall of Adam. As the shofar's note echoed, it touched something ancient and fundamental within every human soul. It was as if the note had struck the very chord of creation, resonating with the original covenant between God and humanity. This divine melody broke through the layers of sin, fear, and doubt that had accumulated over millennia. The curse of sin, the legacy of mortality, was shattered. People felt it not just in their minds, but in their spirits, a lifting, a lightening, as if a heavy burden they had carried unknowingly was suddenly removed. The essence of Eden, of life without the stain of sin, was rekindled in their hearts. Humanity was offered not just forgiveness, but restoration to their intended state of righteousness, of immortality and spirit. This awakening was a collective one. Believers felt their faith surge, their connection to the divine deepen. They stood taller, not just in body, but in spirit, ready to face the darkness with a newfound strength. Even those who had lost their way or were ensnared by darkness felt a momentary break, a chance to choose anew. Michael, with the light of his true essence now fully manifest, had not just awakened to his own power, but had also facilitated a global spiritual awakening. He stood as a bridge between the divine and the mortal, a reminder of what humanity was meant to be, what they could still achieve through faith and divine grace. The remnants of Christianity, now revitalized, understood that this was more than survival. It was a call to participate in a divine plan where they were not just followers, but active partners in the redemption of the world. The battle lines were drawn anew, but now the faithful stood with the assurance of their restored covenant, their spirits aligned with the will of the Creator, ready for the final confrontation with a strength derived from their renewed covenant with God. Hashtag Chapter 10, the final battle. The world, now a tapestry of light and shadow, stood on the edge of an abyss, where the final chapter of an ancient war was about to unfold. The awakening of Michael had not only revitalized the spirits of the faithful, but had also set the stage for the ultimate confrontation between light and darkness. Under the banner of renewed hope, humanity, now aware of their restored covenant, gathered with the heavenly hosts. Michael, his presence a radiant pillar in the midst of this assembly, stood as their leader, his wings unfurled in their full celestial majesty. The air was charged with a palpable energy, the kind that precedes great storms or monumental changes. The redeemed, those who had embraced their spiritual awakening, stood shoulder to shoulder with angels, their faith a tangible force. They were clad not in armor of steel, but in the armor of light, their resolve as much a weapon as any sword. The battlefield was not confined to one place, but spanned dimensions, where the material and the spiritual intermingled in a dance of fate. The fallen angels, alongside their human hosts now fully corrupted by demonic essence, formed an army of darkness that sought to snuff out the light once and for all. The clash was cataclysmic, a spectacle of divine and infernal forces. The ground trembled, the skies wept with the fury of the heavens, and the air was a maelstrom of light and shadow. Each side fought not just for dominion, but for the very essence of creation itself. Angels with swords of light met demons with claws of darkness. Humans, empowered by their newfound connection to the divine, fought with a courage that belied their mortal forms, their actions guided by faith and love. The battle was fierce, with every advance and retreat, every victory and loss, echoing through the cosmos. Amidst this chaos, Michael advanced towards the heart of darkness, where Abaddon and death awaited, their forms a blend of the earthly and the infernal. The air around them seemed to warp, unable to contain the sheer power of their presence. Abaddon, the destroyer, stood with an aura of ancient power, his eyes burning with a cold fire that promised ruin. Death, silent and ever watchful, wielded an aura of finality, a reminder that all things must end. Michael faced them both, his voice clear and resonant. In the name of the Creator, I stand to end your tyranny. The duel that ensued was not just of physical might, but of wills, of ideologies, of the very fabric of existence. Michael, with the light of creation coursing through him, met Abaddon with the force of 1,000 suns, their exchanges sending shockwaves through the realms. Against death, Michael's fight was different. It was a test not just of strength, but of understanding, of accepting the role death plays in the divine plan, yet fighting to ensure it did not overstep its bounds. Their confrontation was a dance of life and death, where each move was a testament to the eternal struggle between these forces. Michael, with his enhanced divine essence, managed to keep death at bay, not by denying its power, but by affirming the supremacy of life, of resurrection, of the eternal promise of victory over death through faith. As Michael battled these titans of darkness, something shifted. The battle cries of the faithful grew louder, their light brighter. Each act of bravery, each moment of unity, each expression of love from humanity added to Michael's power, bolstering the celestial forces. The fallen began to falter. Their ranks, though initially overwhelming, couldn't withstand the purity and resolve of the redeemed. The tide of the battle turned, not through sheer power, but through the collective will of those who fought not just for survival, but for a higher purpose, for the redemption of all creation. Thus, the final battle raged, a testament to the power of faith, the resilience of the human spirit when aligned with the divine, and the unyielding light of an archangel who had walked among men, fought for them, and now led them in the ultimate stand against the forces of darkness. The battlefield, once a place of fierce conflict where the lines between light and darkness blurred, now lay silent, the dust settling over the remnants of a war that had spanned realms. The air, previously thick with the chaos of battle, was now charged with a new kind of energy, one of victory and profound peace. Michael, his wings still alight with the fire of divine purpose, stood amidst the aftermath, his presence a calming force in the wake of destruction. The fallen angels and their human hosts, once formidable, were now scattered or subdued, their power broken by the unified front of the redeemed and the celestial hosts. The duel with Abaddon and death had not just been a battle of might, but a confrontation of destinies. Michael's victory was not one of conquest, but of redemption. Abaddon, seeing the futility of further resistance, yielded, his ancient power now acknowledging the greater authority of the divine plan. Death, having been shown its place within the cycle of life and resurrection, receded, its role redefined but not eliminated. As prophesied, all enemies of Christ were now made his footstool. The forces that had sought to usurp, to corrupt, to bring about an end to light, found themselves powerless before the unity of creation with its creator. The prophecy was not just about domination, but about the restoration of order, the reestablishment of divine justice, and the ultimate victory of love over hatred. With the battle won, Michael, his mission fulfilled, turned his gaze heavenward. The sky above parted, revealing a light brighter than any seen before, and from it, Jesus emerged. His presence alone, a testament to the triumph of light. Michael approached, leading forward the redeemed humanity, now standing not as a defeated or weary people, but as the bride of Christ, radiant with the glory of their covenant. They were no longer just individuals, but a collective, a body united in faith and purpose, ready to be presented before the King of Kings. Lord, Michael spoke, his voice carrying the weight of countless battles, sacrifices, and acts of faith. I present to you your bride, humanity redeemed, standing in light, ready to partake in your eternal kingdom. The scene was one of profound beauty. Humanity, in all its diversity, stood before Jesus, their faces reflecting the journey from darkness to light, their hearts open to divine love. This was not merely a victory over enemies, but a celebration of redemption, of every soul that had chosen the path of light, of every act of love that had countered hate. Jesus, with eyes that held the universe in their gaze, extended his hands in welcome. Well done, my faithful servant, he said, his voice a melody of love and acceptance. The redeemed, in this moment, understood the depth of their transformation, not just as individuals saved from darkness, but as a collective entity, the bride of Christ, integral to the divine narrative of creation. This presentation was Michael's final act, a culmination of his journey from celestial heights to earthly struggles and back, demonstrating his unwavering devotion to the concept of light, to the redemption of humanity. It was a testament to the power of faith, the strength of unity, and the ultimate victory of love, as all of creation witnessed the merging of the human with the divine in an eternal covenant of love and redemption. The archangels ascend. In realms where light and shadow dance, an archangel took a mortal chance. Michael, with wings of celestial grace, embraced the human race to face. A prayer was whispered, hearts did seek, for strength against the dark, the bleak. Defend us, Michael, in our fight against the devil's endless night. He came to earth, not with a sword, but with a heart that could afford to feel, to love, to understand the plight of man, of sea, of land. Through trials vast, through love and strife, he lived a human, yet divine life. He fought not just with might and flame, but with the Spirit, with his name. The fallens fall, the dark descent, in Michael's light their power spent. A battle fought, a victory won, not by the sword, but by the Son. For in the end, it was through grace humanity found its rightful place. The bride of Christ, redeemed and bright, stood tall in the eternal light. Michael's mission now complete, his journey from divine to street, showed us all in light and love, there's redemption from above. So ends the tale, but begins anew, a story of what we can do in faith, in hope. With hearts so strong, we sing the archangel's victory song.